All right, after submitting all of the required data for end of year to CalPads, the next phase in the submission or certification is certification process where LEAs are expected to review any remaining certification errors that triggered or any certification data discrepancy errors based on the data that was uploaded to CalPads. And also part of the certification is the reports review as well as the LEA and SELPA approval process. So this slide outlines the expected end of year one certification. Of course, you submit student records and resolve validation errors upon submission. That's a given. Then after the submission, LEAs are expected to resolve any data discrepancies and any certification errors. If errors occur, you have to resubmit any of the data that is missing or invalid to clear the CDDs or data discrepancy errors. All certification errors are resolved. The LA will disseminate reports to all school sites and all staff responsible to review the data accuracy and also refer those persons to the CalPAS report mapping guide to analyze and to see if the counts are correct. So it is important that these reports are sent out, reviewed maybe multiple times before approving your reports. Next level is the LEA approval. After generating reports and getting the green light from all of the data stakeholders, the LA admin or whoever is the data certifier will then review all of the reports in the certification user interface. Once all of the reports, at least the aggregate reports, are all green, then the LEA reviewer will then go ahead and click on the approval button. Once the approval button is clicked, CalPads will then send out a notification to the SELPA to approve their end of the review process. Once the SELPA approves, then of course you are officially certified for end of year one. However, if the SELPA disapproves and requires additional correction, at least on the SPED related or any incidents related to SPED students, then you will need to make the corrections and then wait for a new snapshot and then go through the same workflow all over again. So the next part here is the data discrepancy. So again, the end of year 25-26 data discrepancies are now available in CalPads. So after submitting any available end of year one data to CalPads, LEAs are encouraged to begin reviewing, investigating, and resolving data discrepancies as early as possible as part of their end of year preparation. This will help clear errors way ahead of the official window, which is May 5, and give you time to work with school sites prior to staff leaving for summer vacation. Because once your staff leaves, then and you need any clarification or you need any records to be cleared, you'll have to wait until the next school year when they arrive to make the necessary corrections. And by then, it might be too late for you, especially with the end of year one initial deadline of July 26. All right, let's now go to the demo process. So of troubleshooting errors. So again, I'm on the data discrepancy section because just to emphasize that any data you currently now have in CalPads should be worked on um, before even waiting for the May 5 certification snapshot. Okay, so if you have currently uploaded data to CalPads for end of year one, we encourage you to start looking at any potential data discrepancies because any discrepancy that is left unresolved will then reflect as a certification data discrepancy error once the snapshots are activated on May 5th. So you both have data discrepancies as well as certification errors. So let's just assume all of your data has been uploaded to CalPads for end of year, and you now go to your certification status. So you go to certification status here and go to end of year 1, at least for this session. So if you click on this, you have your certification details, provides you the details of the snapshot or current snapshot, provides you any errors that you still have to correct, as well as the list of aggregate reports and additional supporting reports, as well as revision history. If you have errors, then of course that's the first thing that you have to resolve, right? Which leads us to how to the demo of resolving some of the current or more common errors that trigger for LEAs. When resolving errors, you could refer to the CalPAS error list, which you could download from the bottom of CalPads, or you can just click on the actual error and it will provide you to the CalPads user manual version of that error. Okay. The benefit of clicking on each of these errors is that aside from the common error list columns that you would see when you download the error, it also provides you any indication if there are any active defects. Another advantage is that if you if you scroll down to the bottom, you should also have additional guidance from the training staff with regards to common issues that and how to address those errors aside from what is suggested in the resolution. Okay. Right. So that's basically general approach on how to start resolving your errors. So let's just do one error right now, which is CERT1. CERT1 is just stating that no enrollment data was expected, was submitted for a school. This normally happens for any schools that may have been expected to be operating in California. However, no enrollments were available, or the school suspended um, their enrollments for that particular academic year, right? So this error triggers for fall 1, at least based on data as of census day. And for end of year, this is based on any enrollment record during the current academic year. So if no record was reported during the end of year submission, then this error would trigger. So there are ways to resolve this. Number one is that if the school indeed was not operating, then you have to notify CalPads that the school wasn't operating and to request the CDE to remove that school from the expected schools table. And second, if let's say the school started operating after census day or any period after that point, then you just have to submit the data to CalPads to notify to resolve the error. Okay, so that's CERT 1. So let's try CERT 97. So CERT 97 is based on how your CARS person certified specific schools on the Consolidated Application Reporting System. Okay, so CERT 97 states there is a missing Title I Targeted Assistance Program record. So the expectation is if a school was flagged as a Title I Part A targeted assistance school, meaning they are receiving funding based on the fact that they were certified as a Title I Part A targeted assistance school, then CalPADS will look for a Program 122 record for students within that school. Okay. If, let's say, if that's the case, if a school is Title I targeted assistance school, then of course you have to submit your Program 122 with for this academic year. Now, if the student or if the school was incorrectly identified and should be a school-wide school, then you have to coordinate with your CARS person to resolve the error on the CONAP side. So once that once a school is identified as a school-wide school and the CD's expected tables are updated, then the CERT 97 error should clear. However, if the school is indeed receiving Title I funding and the school is not a school is not within the school-wide program, then you have to submit a Program 122 record. So again, additional information on how to resolve the error is in the CalPADS user manual CERT 97 error page. Another common error is SCNR 715E1, student enrollment record in active reporting, academic year not yet exited. So if we have not submitted your SCNR record or SCNR exit record for the year, you should expect your entire student population to trigger this error. If that is the case, then you can just leave this error as is until you're certain that all of your students are done with testing and testing in LPAC or CASP, and then you can submit your SCNR exit file to CalPADS. Once that's submitted, then this error will clear. Okay. So you also have other errors here, like missing student incident results record for student or missing student offense. So these are based on the availability of other file types related to incidents. So if you're telling us that if there is a missing student incident result record, so you're telling us that the student has an offense record, but then there is no um, results reported. Or if you submitted an incident record, but there are no results record reported. So this is normally a timing issue based on on when you submitted your sync, sears, or soft. This could also be a discrepancy or an error if you submitted a sync record but then you did not submit any sears or soft records in CalPADS. Another one is task 708E1, missing suspension data for a student who was reported as absent due to either out of school suspension or in school suspension. So let's click on this. Again, this would indicate the error description and the fields being validated, right? So for this, you have missing suspension data for a student who was reported as absent due to either out of school suspension or in school suspension. What does this mean? You are claiming through the STAS file that the student was suspended, was absent based on a suspension or in school suspension. However, CalPAS couldn't find an incident reported for that student. Okay, so let's go to that student right now. Let's click on show. Let's look at some of these students. So if I click on the SSID, I compare the attendance summary and check for any incidents. All right. So here I'm stating that the student was absent based on in-school suspension and out-of-school suspension. Since we're comparing the student absence summary and incident result, I'm stating here that the student was suspended 4 days based on out-of-school suspension and in-school suspension. However, as I'm investigating the incident result, I'm showing that the student was expelled. Okay, so the error is looking for that suspension result. Okay, so again, this is important because it's important to note that when a student is involved in an incident, all student results should be reported. So if the student was suspended first and then expelled, then that student should have 2 lines of record based on that incident. You have a suspension or an expulsion. That's assuming there's just one incident the student is involved in, right? Now, if that wasn't the case, if the student's out of school suspension or in school suspension was based on a different incident, then of course you have to submit that incident to CalPADS with the resulting suspensions reflecting out of school suspension and in school suspension. Okay. The bottom line here is that if you tell us that the student was suspended, then there should be a suspension result reported for that student in CalPADS. Right. So that's how to resolve this error. So now that you've resolved the errors, you just have to wait for a new snapshot, accept, and update all of the data in the ODS, and for those errors to clear on the certification side. So those are some of the fatal errors that has to be resolved in CalPADS. It is also important to note that there will be warnings that you may see. Just because these are warnings, that doesn't mean you ignore them. Because sometimes it's also an indication of maybe misreporting data or not even reporting data for specific schools. So a common error for that or warning is CERT 73. So no program submitted for a school. So this is related to all of those programs that are expected to be submitted for a school for end of year one. So you have here your 504 plan, opportunities programs, California Partnership Academy, the pregnant and parenting, which is identified as CalSafe here, right? 164, Title 1 Part D, all of those Part D programs, as well as the Armed Forces um, program. So you have to make sure that this warning is just looking for these programs. So if sometimes we always have LEAs saying, but I've submitted my program 181, program 182, which is your free lunch, or I've submitted, um, let's say the ELOP, right? That ELOP program is not accounted for in this warning. So just be aware that when you get a CERT 73 warning, it's based on these expected programs reported for that specific school. Okay. So if you are aware that there are no programs that are relevant, then you can ignore the Search 73. However, if there are schools that has to be reported for with each of these programs, then by all means submit those programs to CalPADS and clear the Search 73 error. Another warning would be Cert 148, no student incident data submitted for a school. This warning is also normally a call for as a red flag, because no school, I'm pretty sure schools have either seclusion or restraint or suspensions or expulsions happening based on incidents, right? So there is always a concern if none of your schools have any incidents, and this is triggering. So it is important that you also look at your warnings, because it will also be a notification that you may have not submitted incident data yet for a specific school or group of schools, and that would then impact your reporting accuracy and may invite audits from the state down the road. Okay. Then another warning is the SOF 0710E1, which is basically the suspension based on code 511, which is disruption and defiance. So again, if that incident and the result was really valid, then by all means, you report that to CalPAS. Just make sure that you have uh, notations locally to identify why the student was suspended. That way, if the CDE does an audit, you would be able to defend those incidents, right? Okay, so those are common fatal errors that you should expect triggering for your LEAs in CalPADS. Okay, once those errors are resolved, wait for a new snapshot. You should bring down the errors to zero, and even the warnings if you're really into clearing all of your errors. However, if there are warnings that are beyond your control, you can just let it go. Just make sure that the fatal errors are cleared. That way, CalPAS will then allow you to certify. So when all of those errors are cleared, you then go ahead and review each of these reports, send this out to your data stakeholders, as I've mentioned earlier. Once you have a green light on those, ensure that the reports have a green check mark. And once all of these reports have a green check mark, just check the box that will appear here stating that all of the data that you've reviewed are accurate and all of the reports are accurate. And then once you check that box, the LEA approval button will appear here, which will then notify the SELPA that your data is ready for their review. Okay. Another important thing, speaking of SELPA, is that when you are dealing with SELPA, you also have to account for the actual revision ID that you are endorsing to the SELPA. So when you say, hey, our reports are ready for your approval, you could probably an email to your SELPA saying your reports are ready. You should also indicate the revision ID that they need to correct, just so you are on the same page. So this revision ID column here on the revision history is also useful when trying to coordinate any corrections that your SELPA wants you to correct on the report. So let's say you made you made corrections on your report and you are on LA approval and you now have a new revision. So if you want to your SELPA to review the newer snapshot revision, you have to identify the revision ID for that new snapshot revision. That way they can review the actual report that provides the corrected discrepancies. Okay. So again, the revision history is just a way for for you to be able to coordinate what report the SELPA needs to review, and that way you are on the same page with regards to reviewing your accounts in terms of the incidents, as well as and any incidents that you are endorsing the SELPA to review. Okay, so that summarizes the certification process. So now Nate will then discuss the different reports and the importance of each of these aggregate reports.